Safety of women in the UK is a growing concern. In this video, we cover a press conference by female reform politicians addressing this critical issue. We will also explore leadership principles tied to national safety. Before we get into the details, if you love diving into political issues and enjoy hearing a principled take on them, then hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to join the conversation. It will help our channel reach a wider audience.
During the PSHE, so that's a Relationship Sex Education Bill, it was rushed through Parliament during COVID, so there was no scrutiny. And it was championed and pushed by a Conservative Schools Minister who actively championed Stonewall's involvement in schools and in government. Now, under the Conservatives, we lived under an NHS that allowed children to be on puberty blockers and allowed them to change genders. And an NHS what erased the word mother and replaced it with birthing parent, and replaced breastfeeding with chest feeding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be a mother and I'm proud to have breasts. Now, we've lived through decades when institutions, police and some politicians have turned a blind eye to the grooming of our children, and we've seen a rise in domestic abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no wonder that both men and women are turning to reform. They need hope that this 1984 Orwellian nightmare, where the thought police are monitoring our every social media post, yet letting off paedophiles, they want this to end. I stand before you today, not as a politician, but as a mother of a wonderful 8-year-old boy, and to tell you I'm fighting for his future. Nigel in Reform, all our politicians, the ladies on the panel, the volunteers, those at Reform HQ, are here to tell you all, we hear you, we will protect you, and we will fight for your children. And as all at Reform know, there are just two sexes.
There are two recent phenomena that have, without a doubt, caused women and girls to be less safe, not just in Kent, but in the UK as a whole. Let me explain. The first, as Andrea just referenced, is the belief that's been actively and at times aggressively pushed on us by politicians, the media, and our state institutions, that biological men pretending to be women should be allowed into female-only single-sex spaces. It is a fact that allowing biological men into women's spaces has made women and girls in the UK less safe. The opposition motion didn't mention that at all. The second thing that's made women and girls less safe, but which was also missing from the opposition motion, is, of course, illegal migration. The invasion, and I use the word invasion because that is exactly what it is, of hundreds and thousands of undocumented men who've come from countries where violence is the norm and women are not even second-class citizens, is placing women and girls in grave danger. When I debated the motion in the council chamber and quoted facts and figures to demonstrate the shocking number of foreign-born men charged with sexual offences against women, the opposition called me racist, xenophobic and bigoted. Now, that's not just utterly disgraceful behaviour from elected officials, but a total pig-headed refusal to acknowledge an uncomfortable truth. I wondered if their anger stemmed from all these pesky women complaining about being raped and sexually assaulted. I mean, for goodness sake, why can't they just shut their mouths for the sake of diversity? And for the record, that's a sentiment that's actually been publicly supported by a sitting Labour MP. It's the same mindset that saw the industrial scale cover-up of the rape gangs. And if that's not ringing alarm bells for you, then it should. Anyway, the facts and figures have been very slow to emerge, but now they're becoming freely available. There's just no escaping the evidence. Illegal migration is harming women and girls. The number of foreign national sex offenders in prison has gone up by almost 10% just in the last 12 months. The recent report by Dame Louise Casey pointed out that Afghan men commit up to 20 times more sex offences than average. And thanks to our hapless politicians, we now have tens of thousands of Afghan men who may or may not be Taliban, secretly brought to the UK, now living alongside our service families in military accommodation. You really could not make this up. And as for the small boat invaders, well, the government is now closing the migrant hotels and placing groups of these men who, don't forget, we have no idea who they are or where they really come from, into the very hearts of our towns and villages, requisitioning guest houses, blocks of flats, small hotels, and HMOs. It is happening by stealth in Kent and all over the country. And still, day by day, the boats keep coming. Once ensconced, these men are free to come and go as they please, and we know that some are working illegally for food delivery companies. How one organises insurance, background checks, or a payslip for someone with no ID is beyond me. Another thing we now know is that over 200 of these men living at our expense in our communities have been charged with over 400 offences, 44 of which were sexual offences. And these are just the ones we know about at this moment in time. My residents in Kent are beyond furious. Kent is a proud and ancient county, and our motto is Invicta, which means unconquered, undefeated, or invincible. The irony of our shores being invaded day after day by men who have fled the safe country of France to come to the UK by choice is not lost on my residents. So I'm going to leave you with some unanswered questions. How many rapes is too many? How many sexual assaults is too many? When is this government going to wake up to the reality of what so many women and girls are experiencing? I believe this is now a national emergency and should be treated as such. Thank you.
Safety is the first duty of any government. If you cannot protect Britain, you have no right to govern it. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Labour and Conservatives, Britain is now lawless. My name is Layla Cunningham. I'm a Westminster City Councillor, a former senior Crown Prosecutor, and a mum of 7. Our country's changed. I remember a time when calling the police meant they would actually come. Now, when my kids were robbed, police told me there weren't enough resources to send someone. I had to do the dangerous legwork myself over many weeks to catch the criminals. I risked my life and the press called me vigilante mum. Well, this campaign and reform is for every vigilante mum out there, for every parent who feels sick with worry when their kids leave the house, for every parent who's been looked down on, ignored, and insulted, or worse, silenced. For everyone fighting to protect their family only to be told to calm down and shut up while the government places foreign rapists on their doorsteps. You are not alone. We see you, we hear you, and reform is coming to fight for you. From the start of this campaign, the press accused me of lying, of stirring up fear. I've prosecuted violent criminals. I've comforted victims. I've hugged my own children. I've seen danger up close, and I can tell you the fear is not paranoia. It's the truth. When you cut visible policing, half stop and search, empty the prisons, and only charge 6% of reported crimes, you hand control of our streets to the criminals. This isn't just failure, it's a dereliction of duty. And I'm angry, because the very people who won our votes with promises of safety have done the exact opposite. Why are there no more police on our streets? Why isn't there a laser focus on knife crime? Why aren't people in balaclavas searched? Why are foreign rapists not deported? While these questions and many more still go unanswered, they have the audacity to force through the online safety bill, using child safety as a cover to gag dissent. And when we call it what it really is, censorship, they accuse us of being dangerous and siding with predators. A masterclass in double standards. A level of hypocrisy only matched by their deceit. These are the same people that refuse a national inquiry into the Pakistani rape gangs they protected for years. The same people that still house foreign rapists in hotels by schools and homes, and then act shocked when mothers protest. What do they expect? And if you need more proof that both parties have actively deprioritized our safety, ask yourself this. How can they find billions for foreign aid, 7 billion for Afghan refugees, some unvetted and dangerous, but not for more police, not for victims, and not for our children? And where are they when a boy is stabbed? Silent. Where are they when girls are groomed and raped? Silent. No policy announcements, no Cobra meetings, no billions, no elite squads. Those are reserved for censoring us. And then they take the knee They bow the knee to ideology. Like the Crown Prosecution Service so-called policy on violence against women and girls. It states that it's actually gender neutral and inclusive of men who identify as women. That's not inclusion. That's deleting us from our own safety laws.
And what we're talking about today is a matter of national security. And that is the heightened and increasing threat to the safety and security of women and girls across this country. A threat that our own government is enabling. And as you've heard, we're talking about the daily influx of people who do not share our values, who do not share our culture, but who are being welcomed into this country, all at vast expense to us, the taxpayer. We know that on average, 800 to 1,000 migrants are arriving illegally in Britain each week, 26,000 so far alone on what I hope people will stop calling small boats, because they're clearly not small boats, they're very large boats. And even on Saturday, I think I read in the paper, 435 at Dover, arrived at Dover on Saturday. And all of these people are either checked into hotels or dispersed into houses of multiple occupancy, better known as HMOs, around the country. And there's disturbing news today in the press about how the Home Office are liaising with private contractors to sweep up whole streets of houses, to take over blocks of houses. We know that officially there are 210 registered asylum hotels currently housing migrants in the UK. That's the figure as of July this year. Yet despite the government promising to close all of these hotels by 2029, we see the exact opposite happening, don't we? Even more being opened every day. From Cheshire to Norfolk, from Epping to Ashfield, few areas of the UK have remained untouched by this wave of state-supported illegal migration. The vast majority of these migrants are young, military-aged males. We can see it with our own eyes. We can see it from the media coverage. We hear reports of their documents, their identity documents being thrown into the channel just as they approach Dover. They're not throwing away their smartphones, are they? But they throw away their documents just so they cannot be identified. And this helps them game our archaically generous and trusting immigration system until they're simply approved by attrition by the Home Office. And again today, there's headlines of 150,000 migrants that have just been lost in the system by the Home Office. We know that many claim to be children on these boats, despite being visibly over 18. How stupid do they think the British public is? And of course, they're all coming from France, which I think's been mentioned, which, to the best of all of our knowledge, is still listed as a safe place to visit by our Foreign Office. So despite arriving here illegally, despite fleeing a perfectly safe European country, despite lying about their age, they are all housed, clothed, fed, all at the expense of us. Eventually, they will find themselves moved from a 3- or 4-star hotel and dispersed into local housing ahead of our local British citizens on housing lists. I hear these stories all the time in my constituency. Once in an HMO, we know, don't we, that they often disappear off the Home Office radar into the black economy and often into a world of crime. The police have no knowledge of who these individuals are, because basic information is not collected when these people arrive in the country. Is any facial recognition done? No.
Are DNA swabs taken? No. Anything to help our police and security services investigate and detect crime? Of course not. Why not? Because the left-wing lawyers will cry human rights. Well, I don't know if any of you have been to the States recently. My fingerprints were taken, my facial biometrics were taken. And if you've read recently in the press, Europe is about to do the same to us. So what is the problem? The truth is, we have no idea who we're letting in. No idea how many of them have criminal records or who might be a red flag to our security services. How many are drug dealers, murderers, rapists, spies for hostile regimes, terrorists?
When women, children, and the most vulnerable in your society are not protected by the government or the authorities sworn to serve them, as a government, you are failing. When you turn a blind eye to open borders, knowing the toll it takes on communities and ignore your citizens' cries to act, as a government, you are failing. When illegal migrants and asylum seekers are housed in hotels while your veterans sleep on the streets, as a government, you are failing. When hard-working people turn to food banks while asylum seekers are fed 3 meals a day, as a government, you are failing. Dr. Miles Monroe said, "Nothing changes until your thinking changes." He also said, "Success is predictable, and so is failure." A government that will not weigh the consequences of its choices or act boldly for local and national security invites failure. Yet, through honest reflection and practical steps, securing borders, honoring veterans, supporting families, you can choose success. To protect your citizens is a government's sacred duty. Until you face your failures, change cannot begin. Be brave, be bold, and do right by your people. If you have benefited in any way from this video, please subscribe, like, share, and be sure to leave us a comment.